We now come to item 8, report of the evaluation body on its work in 2020, which will retain our attention for some time. So we will be here for some time, Tim. I see that the chairperson of the evaluation body, Mr. Saeed Albu Saidi from Oman, its vice chairperson, Mr. Leon Siki, representing the Association for the Safeguarding of Masks, ASAMA, and its rapporteur, Ms. Lubisi Volanska from Slovakia, are with us in this virtual meeting room. Greetings to all three of you. May I ask the Secretary to present this item to the committee? Mr. Curtis, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. You will remember that the evaluation body for the 2020 cycle was established by the committee at its 14th session last year in Bogota in order to evaluate nominations to the urgent safeguarding list, including nominations to the urgent safeguarding list combined with an international assistance request, and these are covered under item 8A. They were also established to evaluate nominations to the representative list, which is covered under item 8B, proposals to the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices, as found under item 8C, as well as requests for international assistance greater than 100,000 United States dollars, item 8D. I would like to inform the committee that 7 files have been withdrawn by submitting states. In this session, the committee is therefore asked to examine 45 files over the course of 3 days. Given the reduced duration of this session, this means the committee will have an average of 9 minutes to examine each file. To assist the organization of delegations and communities that are following us back home, the Secretariat shared an indicative order of nominations on the 3rd of December. Please let me underline that the timing of examination for each file is bound to be modified depending on the speed of debates. It goes without saying that 2020 cycle has been unique in many ways. Of course, due to the impact of the global pandemic and the restrictions on international travel, the Secretariat and the evaluation body had to make significant adjustments throughout the year to carry out the evaluation process entirely online. Thanks to these adjustments, recommendations for all files can be presented to this session of the committee, but please let me underline that the online evaluation process did raise a number of challenges, and I believe the evaluation body's rapporteur will speak out about this in more details in her presentation. This year is the first cycle in which the dialogue process has been fully implemented, following the revision of the operational directives by the 8th session of the General Assembly in September 2020. Despite the postponement of the General Assembly until September 2020, this was made possible because the evaluation body decided to launch the dialogue process on an anticipatory basis in July 2020. You will remember we were supposed to have the General Assembly in June, so the evaluation body implemented this on an anticipatory basis. In this cycle, the dialogue process has been applied in 11 cases, and the draft decisions presented to the committee for these files already reflect the outcome of these dialogue processes, and of the 11 cases, 10 are recommended for inscription. Allow me to explain how the debates on the report of the evaluation body will be organized. Ms. Volanska, the rapporteur, will present a brief oral report on key cross-cutting issues identified by the body during the 2020 cycle. Following the oral report, the floor will be open for specific questions that committee members may wish to address to the evaluation body on its report. The committee will then evaluate all individual files as per decision 14-18 taken last year. Nominations will in principle be examined in English alphabetical order, starting with the files of states whose names begin with the letter Q under each mechanism. All nominations, proposals, and requests will be the subject of a brief presentation by the chairperson of the evaluation body, who will give a succinct explanation justifying the recommendation of the body. The general debate on this item will continue after the evaluation of all individual files, at which point the committee will move to the adoption of the overall decision 15-8. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis, for this detailed explanation. Due to the tight schedule and in order to allow sufficient time for the committee to discuss specific files, we agreed that we would adopt the same working method for the organization of our work as in previous years. In this regard, a message was sent by the Secretariat to all states parties on 3 December. Committee members wishing to discuss or amend specific draft decisions on nominations to the list, proposals for the Register of Good Safeguarding Practices, or the request for international assistance were invited to inform the Secretariat by today, 10 a.m. Paris time. I would like to ask the Secretariat to tell us how many requests have been received in this regard. This is merely a matter of organization, but it is nevertheless all the more important this year due to the online modality for this session. I wish to reassure members of the committee that this procedure does not prevent any committee member from taking the floor on any decision if it wishes so to do. In addition, as I mentioned yesterday on the item 2, it is my understanding that committee members wish to maintain the tacit agreement first put in place at the 12th session of the committee in 2017, and which is often referred to as the gentleman's agreement. According to this agreement, committee members agreed to refrain from inscribing files for which the evaluation body recommended not to inscribe the nomination, and those for which more than 2 criteria have not been satisfied. I believe that this agreement is of utmost importance to maintain the credibility of the work of the committee and the evaluation process. Allow me now to explain the working method for the adoption of draft decisions. In principle, for draft decisions for which we have not received any amendments or requests for debate, we will adopt them as a whole. With regards to draft decisions for which amendments were submitted, however, we will adopt them paragraph by paragraph. In all cases, the submitting state will have a total of 2 minutes, only 2 minutes after adoption to deliver a statement and or show a video. A total of 2 minutes to speak and to show your video, or to speak and not show your video, either, but 2 minutes only will be allotted. May I request your kind cooperation in strictly limiting your interventions to 2 minutes. I hope that we can, in this way, save time and conduct our discussion in an optimal manner. Another aspect I want to clarify is how I intend to proceed with amendments to the draft decisions on nominations, in particular in light of the committee's decision 11.8 regarding the clarification on the decision-making process concerning inscription, selection, or approval of nominations, proposals, and requests. Taking into account our past decision and practice, I would like to apply the following working method as a way forward for the present examination of nominations, proposals, and requests under item 8. In accordance with paragraph 14 of the Rules of Procedure of the committee, my duty as chairperson is the smooth conduct of the proceedings and the maintenance of order. This will constitute my main line of action during our debates. As is reflected in decision 11.8, I will ensure that the spirit of consensus and international cooperation prevails throughout the debates and decision-making process of the committee. It is also important to remind ourselves that the draft decisions proposed to us have been prepared by the evaluation body, a consultative body created to assist us in an in-depth examination of the nominations. We elect its members in light of their expertise. Therefore, our debates and our decision-making process shall demonstrate respect towards the expertise and diligent work of the evaluation body. When amendments are put forward, and once again in conformity with the decision 11.com8, I will seek to establish consensus through appreciating both supporting arguments and objections to those amendments under consideration. To this end, when an amendment is proposed, I will first determine whether it receives an active relative support from the committee. This means that I will be looking for the expression of support from at least 1/3 of the committee members. In the case of an objection by a committee member to this amendment, I would then seek the active, broad support from the majority of committee members. I reiterate, the smooth conduct of our debates is of prime importance to me. Allow me to emphasize that our decision-making process has an impact on the credibility of not only the work of this committee, but also of the convention as a whole. It is therefore our duty and our responsibility as members of the committee to keep these considerations in mind throughout our debates. Dear colleagues, I wish now to recall several other important points about the procedure of our debates under this item, which are the rules and working methods of the committee that I kindly ask you to respect. During the general debates on the item 8, priority is given to committee members, but I will also give the floor to states parties, non-members of the committee, and other observers if time allows. Under the examination of specific nominations to the list, proposals to the register, and requests for international assistance, participation in the debates is limited to committee members. In other words, submitting states non-member of the committee shall not take the floor when the committee examines individual nominations. The exception to this rule is given under Rule 22.4 of the Rules of Procedure of the committee. Submitting states may take the floor to reply to specific questions and to provide information in reply to questions raised by committee members, if any. At the same time, please note that the same rule specifies that submitting states, whether a member of the committee or not, should not speak to advocate their own nominations. I remind members and observers that there are large numbers of people following our work through live webcast or through the news media. And it is therefore important for us to keep as closely as possible to our schedule. Before opening the floor, may I first ask the Secretariat to confirm how many requests for debate have been received by the Secretariat. Mr. Curtis?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. As reported this morning at the Bureau, and we have received amendments on 5 nominations. However, we've just received a proposed amendment on a 6th nomination, so allow me to go forward. The first one concerns item 8A3, the file submitted for examination by Egypt, with the floor opened by Saudi Arabia and a proposed draft amendment supported by 13 committee members. The second concerns the file 8B4 submitted by Saudi Arabia and jointly by Kuwait, proposed by Morocco for opening debate. We then have 8B7, the Spanish file for an amendment for an opening of debate proposed by Brazil and co-sponsored by Saudi Arabia. We have just received a request to open the debate on 8B26, the nomination files submitted by the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, and that request for opening the debate has been submitted by China. We have also a request to open debate on file 8B30, submitted jointly by Indonesia and Malaysia, a request by China, supported also by 5 other countries. And finally, on item 8C4, the file submitted by Greece with a request from Switzerland. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Curtis. The floor is now open for questions on the organization, procedure, and working method for this item. For general statements, please, Switzerland and Sweden. I will ask you to be patient and wait until we go to the chapeau decisions later in the week. I crave your indulgence. I would now like to give the floor to the rapporteur of the evaluation body for the 2020 cycle. Ms. Walanska, the floor is yours.
Madam Chairperson, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you the report of the evaluation body on its work in this cycle. There are some recurring issues that can be found already in the reports of the previous evaluation bodies. Due to the circumstances and respecting the time restriction in my presentation, I will focus just on selected topics the evaluation body considered to be the most important in this cycle of evaluation. In this cycle, 52 files have been treated by the evaluation body and are submitted to the committee for its decision, including 16 multinational nominations. You can see the proportion of files concerning individual mechanisms in the table shown on the screen. The 4 documents related to the examinations of the nominations for each one of the mechanisms of the convention will be presented to you by the chairman of the evaluation body, Mr. Said Al-Busaidi. The 12 members of the evaluation body met 3 times in February, June, and September 2020. However, already the first meeting was semi-presential due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The 2 remaining meetings were held online completely. Every member of the body evaluated each file online and prepared individual opinions and recommendations. Furthermore, in order to facilitate consultations among the members before and during the meeting and encourage consensus building, the Secretariat developed new features in the online interface. These allowed the evaluation body to exchange outside of the meetings, consult each other's evaluation text, and engage in written discussions. In order to achieve a similar approach for evaluating and the same quality, more time and effort were required on the part of both the body and the Secretariat during and between the online meeting schedules. Within the collective decision-making, the EB members acted neutrally and assessed only the content of the files, while maintaining the consistency within the cycle and with previous decisions. The members took into considerations the particularities of each file and the specific context. Furthermore, the members discussed the evolving character of the interpretation of the convention, which also needs to be reflected in the evaluation process. Finally, the body succeeded in reaching a consensus and its recommendations for all files. Moreover, the special situation caused by COVID-19 pandemic has shown us how important are the thorough discussions of the EB members for the whole nomination process and how hard it was this year to keep the standards. Out of the 52 files examined by the evaluation body in this cycle, A total of 30 files are recommended for inscription, selection, or approval. 20 are recommended for referral, and 2 are not recommended for inscription. This year, the evaluation body assessed nominations of various standards. Unfortunately, with regret, we have to state that the quality of the files received in this cycle was not as high as in the previous years, and there is still space for improvement in the presentation of elements within a nomination file. In cases where information in the nomination file was missing or insufficient to decide whether or not a particular criterion was met, the body opted to refer the file. States parties, and in particular members of the communities concerned, might perceive the referral of a file as a failure. However, the idea behind the referral is to give an encouraging signal to the submitting states to invite them to improve the quality of the file, including in terms of how the element and its safeguarding are presented to the wider public. In this cycle, the evaluation body discussed 9 resubmitted files, and although we encountered a number of issues related, for example, to out-of-date letters of consent and the state parties having only a short period of time to review the information and apply recommendations for improvement, still, most of the previously referred files benefited from the referral option. The members of the evaluation body always tried to explain very clearly what information was missing in the files, in the hope that specific recommendations might help the state parties to review the files before resubmitting them. There is also a number of methodological materials available on the UNESCO website, for example, the aide-mémoire. At the same time, the EB always highlights good examples of nominations that can be used as inspiration with this very goal. There is also the possibility to use the capacity of the NGO forum and its qualified experts, as well as the know-how of cooperating countries that may be more experienced and have been successful in preparing high-quality nominations files in the past. This principle of cooperation has proven very functional in some cases of the multinational nominations, where the participating state parties benefited from each other's experiences and prepared the file in mutual cooperation. The evaluation body was pleased to examine 16 multinational nominations in this cycle, which highlight the diversity of shared intangible cultural heritage. Thanks to the number of such files submitted, the members of the body were able to assess a variety of approaches to compiling and drafting multinational nominations. Apologies. In this cycle, the body welcomed a number of examples of bi- or multinational nominations that clearly demonstrate the principles of international cooperation and the promotion of mutual understanding among countries. However, the evaluation body also noted a worrying trend of multinational files that seem to have been prepared by simply combining several individual nomination files. In such cases, the cooperation between the submitting states seems to have been formal rather than involving a close collaboration throughout the nomination process. The lack of collaboration and sharing among submitting states accentuates the missed opportunities for facilitating and strengthening intercultural dialogue among communities and countries, which should be one of the main goals and functions of multinational nominations. This appears to be a significant problem, especially in the light of the decision by the committee concerning the priority to be accorded to multinational files. Such a trend should not be encouraged. The 2020 cycle is the first cycle in which the dialogue process has been fully implemented. It was applied in 11 cases, including 9 nominations to the representative list, 1 nomination to the urgent safeguarding list, and 1 proposal to the register of good safeguarding practices. In 1 case, the body sent 1 question. In the remaining 10 cases, multiple questions, for a total of 31 questions. You can see the proportion of the criteria shown on the screen. The evaluation body used the dialogue process in cases where the file did not include sufficient information to assess whether the criterion was satisfied. However, Unlike in the case of the referral option, the dialogue was limited to specific questions requiring a specific response. Dialogue can only be used when there is a minor lack of information or a confusing statement, which the body considered could be clarified through a simple question and answer exchange with the submitting states. In this cycle, following the discussions and suggestions from states parties during the 14th session of the committee in 2019, the body used the option of the dialogue process in more cases with more complex questions than in the previous cycle. However, as in the previous cycle, the dialogue process was not used for every nomination file in which one criterion was recommended for referral, because in some cases, the issues or problems relating to missing or unclear information could not be resolved with a simple question and answer exchange, and the text would need to be completely redrafted. As a concept, the dialogue option has not been intended as an opportunity to rewrite the file or submit fundamental missing information. However, the evaluation body discussed also the limits of the use of the dialogue option related to their capacities as well as the capacities of the Secretariat. The members of the evaluation body often discussed the basic principle of the 2003 Convention, and when assessing each file, they try to answer the question about how the inscription of a certain element can contribute to mutual understanding among communities as well as the states parties. When discussing mutual respect among communities, the evaluation body expressed concerns regarding some nomination files that seem to be exalting nationalistic ideas in the context of intangible cultural heritage. Members of the body noted the repetition of essentialist notions, as well as an increased focus on nationalisms and the construction of validation of the image of the country through intangible cultural heritage. The evaluation body was concerned by the use of the convention to claim historical, cultural, geographical, and political ownership, and invites state parties to show respect for the spirit of collaboration and sharing, which is a founding and guiding principle of convention. To conclude in a more optimistic tone, besides other already mentioned positive highlights of this cycle, the EB particularly appreciated several nominations which emphasized the links between intangible cultural heritage and the tangible environment. It was pleased to examine an increased number of nominations of elements related to knowledge and skills concerning nature and the universe, which promote environmental sustainability, maintenance of biodiversity, and safeguarding of the natural and cultural landscape. Further, the members positively evaluated the highly adaptive and creative approaches to safeguarding ICH in ever-changing social context and its transition from rural to urban environment presented in several nominations. And finally, the body appreciated examples of innovative working methods regarding participation, inclusion, and the involvement of wide variety of actors in the safeguarding of ICH, as well as the whole nomination process. These were the most important issues of the 2020 Evaluation Body Report. For other topics, the document lhe2015.com/8 can be consulted. On behalf of the Evaluation Body, I would like to thank you for entrusting us with this task. A lot of questions raised during the last evaluation cycle. They underline the importance of the reflection of the listing mechanisms, which has been unfortunately delayed this year. The members of the evaluation body wish to stress the importance of taking into consideration the recurring challenges encountered by this and previous EVs in the early stages of the reflection process. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wolanska, for your presentation. You raised important issues which should inform the debate of the committee. Hearing your presentation and having the report of the evaluation body in front of us, I would like this opportunity to express our sincere appreciation to the 12 members of the body for managing to carry out your task despite the global pandemic that continues to affect us all. How amazing it is to witness the body's dedication and engagement to overcome this year's challenges and ensure that the convention could continue its work. It's very commendable. Please know that the states, parties, and communities are truly grateful for your hard work. Let me now open the list of speakers for questions on the report of the evaluation body. I will invite Tim to read the list of speakers. But just before Tim reads the list of speakers, I will ask speakers to be brief in their interventions as we're running late with our timetable. Tim, could you please?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. We have a rather long list of speakers. From committee members, we have Sweden, Switzerland, Czechia, Netherlands, Botswana, Republic of Korea, China, Azerbaijan, Poland, Kuwait. As a and now Jamaica, Brazil. Non-committee members, we have Lithuania. I repeat, Sweden, Switzerland, Czechia, Netherlands, Botswana, Republic of Korea, China, Azerbaijan, Poland, Kuwait, Jamaica, and Brazil for committee members, and for non-committee members, Lithuania. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. I will now invite Sweden to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sweden would like to thank the evaluation body for this excellent report. A qualified and careful work has been carried out under exceptional conditions during the past year. We also want to highlight the importance of respecting EB's expertise and the observations and recommendations contained in the report. According to EB's assessment, a number of challenges and problems remain to be addressed in order to improve the quality of the nominations, proposals, and requests submitted. We therefore hope that the nominating states make use of UNESCO facilitators and the resources within communities and NGOs. Sweden is nevertheless pleased to see the positive aspects that EB points out. For example, that the number of multinational nominations has increased and that more and more elements are contributing to sustainable development, and the positive results of the dialogue process. The 52 files adds up to an impressive diverse list of intangible cultural heritage from different corners of the world. When we examined the files, we deeply enjoyed learning about each element who all deserve our attention. According to EB's reviews, a referral is usually due to insufficient information concerning the ways to safeguard the element, how to cooperate between stakeholders, and how to raise awareness. This is the very essence of this convention, and therefore it's crucial for the status of the convention that EB's recommendations are taken into account. Sweden would at last like to thank the state parties that have withdrawn their files. This shows respect for the tremendous work carried out by the EB and facilitates the work of the committee. Thank you.
Thank you, Sweden. Switzerland, you may take the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Le rapport de l'organe d'évaluation révèle la qualité du travail effectué par les experts, en particulier au vu du contexte compliqué en 2020 et de l'adaptation nécessaire des modalités de réunion. Nous tenons à remercier tous les membres de cette instance essentielle à notre convention et en particulier sa rapporteuse. L'organe d'évaluation fait face à un volume important de dossiers à traiter, mais il parvient à fournir des analyses pertinentes permettant au comité de prendre des décisions informées. Il convient de maintenir un volume et des conditions adaptées pour cette mission d'expertise en développant des outils pertinents et en n'augmentant pas exagérément la charge de travail et le nombre de dossiers à traiter. Au cours de ce cycle, l'organe d'évaluation a de nouveau fait preuve de rigueur et insisté sur la nécessité de prendre en compte dans l'examen des dossiers la cohérence, la pertinence et l'adéquation des informations fournies. Il en ressort un nombre plus élevé de propositions de renvoi. Comme mentionné dans le rapport, une proposition de renvoi n'est pas à considérer comme un échec, mais au contraire, comme un encouragement à améliorer la qualité du dossier. Les évaluations fournissent à ce titre des indications et orientations pertinentes pour les États soumissionnaires. Ainsi, durant le processus d'examen des candidatures, la Suisse tiendra à veiller au maintien des recommandations et remarques de l'organe d'évaluation dans les projets de décision et elle respectera le Gentleman's Agreement. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Thank you. At this time, I will invite Czechia. The floor is yours.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Notre délégation voudrait joindre nos collègues et remercier l'organe d'évaluation pour son rapport, pour son professionnalisme, l'érudition et pour l'analyse minutieuse des dossiers de candidature qui, cette année tout particulièrement, a dû être extrêmement difficile compte tenu des conditions inhabituelles dictées par la crise sanitaire mondiale. Nous considérons le rapport de l'organe d'évaluation comme un ensemble d'importantes observations et recommandations fort utiles dont les États parties devraient s'inspirer pour préparer les dossiers de candidature. En voyant toute l'attention consacrée à l'analyse de chaque nomination, nous considérons l'organe d'évaluation comme un partenaire sérieux qui, pour nous, les membres du comité, réalise un travail particulièrement difficile et complexe. Par conséquent, j'aimerais inviter mes estimés collègues du comité à prendre en considération pas seulement l'accord tacite du Gentleman's Agreement, consistant à ne pas ouvrir la discussion pour les dossiers avec 3 et plus de critères non remplis, mais aussi à prendre en compte une sorte de Gentleman's Agreement avec notre organe de consultation dans le processus de décision sur l'inscription des différentes candidatures. Si une candidature n'est pas recommandée pour l'inscription, cela ne signifie pas que l'élément soit sans valeur ou sans qualité, mais simplement que les critères pour son inscription, dont l'application devrait être la même pour tous de manière à ce que le système soit équitable et fonctionnel, n'ont pas été remplis. C'est pour ces raisons que certains dossiers ont reçu une recommandation de renvoi. Pour en avoir fait l'expérience, la République tchèque peut témoigner du fait qu'une telle recommandation ne fait certes pas plaisir sur le moment, mais n'est pas aussi douloureuse qu'elle semble être. La révision d'un dossier n'est pas un signe d'échec, mais l'occasion d'améliorer la candidature et de mieux réfléchir au processus de sauvegarde, ce qui a toujours un effet positif sur l'élément lui-même. Néanmoins, pour des raisons évidentes, un processus de dialogue installé cette année ne peut se limiter qu'à des questions spécifiques nécessitant des réponses spécifiques. Nous sommes conscients de la déception de certains pays qui n'ont pas été concernés par ce processus, mais gardons à l'esprit qu'un dialogue ne peut être entamé qu'en cas d'insuffisance ou de manque de clarté minime, quand une réponse claire et concise suffit pour confirmer une recommandation d'inscription. Un dernier point, et pardon de prendre trop de temps, un point qui nous tient particulièrement à cœur est celui des dossiers multinationaux. L'organe d'évaluation a souligné la nécessité des directives opérationnelles pour ces dossiers, car il s'agit dans certains cas d'exemples d'excellente coordination et coopération entre les États et les communautés qui poursuivent des objectifs communs et respectent ainsi l'un des principes fondamentaux de la Convention. Mais dans d'autres cas, les États semblent chercher à rassembler des éléments qui ont des traits communs, mais qui ne peuvent pas être définis sur la base de caractéristiques fondamentales, ce qui entraîne la soumission. Okay. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you for your intervention. I just would like to remind members that you have only 2 minutes. We're running late as it is. I seek your cooperation. But Swana, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Bozona wishes to appreciate and commend the evaluation body for the good work that they've done under the circumstances of COVID-19 pandemic. And this hasn't compromised the quality of their good work in the evaluation of the files. Botswana also wishes to note the good move of having dialogue in the process of evaluation. This enhances the spirit of understanding of the convention and taking note of important issues regarding the convention. And we also wish to commend the submissions of multinational nominations, which are very, very important in the sense that they enhance intercultural dialogue and they also enhance teamwork and sharing of experiences and understanding in the implementation of the convention. We further wish to congratulate all state parties who were part of the nominations that were considered in this season. We thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Botswana. Netherlands?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We would like to thank the evaluation body for their detailed reports and precise recommendations. Many important observations are covered. The Netherlands values the expertise of the evaluation body and likes to follow the recommendations as much as possible. On the one hand, the evaluation body is pleased, and so we are, that more nominations could be examined which highlight the contribution of ICH to sustainable development, as well as an increase in multinational files. On the other hand, there are still issues that are of great concern. For instance, a lack of community participation, inappropriate language, ownership issues, tourism as well, and this is very worrying, the small number of nominations to the urgent safeguarding list and the register of good safeguarding practices. And although the dialogue process has already proven to be an important tool for additional clarification, in this cycle, 30 files are recommended for inscription or selection and 20 files for referral. This means an increase of 23% to 38%. And we would like to ask the evaluation body how the body values this fact and what could we do to have better files. Do we need the involvement of NGOs? Do we need more capacity building on this? Over the years, the evaluation of R2 criteria has proven difficult. For state parties, it often is not clear what is meant by the questions under R2. For that reason, the committee supported the recommended approach to review this criterion as part of the reflection process on the listing mechanism. And we would like to know how the evaluation body has valued R2 overall. When we look at the larger context of the discussion on the listing mechanism and we look at the new tools which have been developed, like for instance, dive into intangible heritage on the website of the convention, then the contribution, to the visibility of ICH and the interrelationships of the elements are demonstrated. And we would like the evaluation body to reflect on this point. Thank you.
Thank you. Members, I will repeat, we can't exceed, you cannot exceed 2 minutes. I'm going to have to interrupt you. Although I know your presentations are important, I will have to interrupt you. Thank you. Azerbaijan.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Nous tenons à féliciter l'organe d'évaluation pour son travail d'évaluation des dossiers cette année, ainsi que le secrétariat pour avoir facilité ce travail dans les circonstances actuelles de la pandémie COVID-19. Nous notons en particulier l'adaptation par le secrétariat des réunions de l'organe d'évaluation au format en ligne, qui a permis le bon déroulement des travaux d'évaluation pour le cycle 2020. Notre délégation remercie l'organe d'évaluation d'avoir soumis un rapport approfondi, soulevé un certain nombre de questions et des faits très importants. Nous notons en particulier le fait que le cycle 2020 a été la première année où le processus de dialogue a été pleinement mis en œuvre. Le processus de dialogue s'avère être un mécanisme d'échange efficace entre les États soumissionnaires et l'organe d'évaluation. Et nous pensons que le comité devrait continuer à acquérir de l'expérience dans ce domaine. Nous notons également avec satisfaction le nombre croissant des dossiers multinationaux soumis cette année et nous souhaitons féliciter les États qui ont soumis de tels dossiers pour l'esprit de dialogue et de collaboration dans le domaine de la sauvegarde du patrimoine culturel immatériel partagé. Notre délégation estime que les dossiers multinationaux sont de la plus haute importance parmi les mécanismes d'inscription de la Convention 2003, car ils démontrent directement son esprit et ses objectifs. Nous reconnaissons cependant que les limitations des mots dans les formulaires de candidature rendent parfois difficile pour les États de trouver un juste équilibre entre les informations, ce qui a été mis en avant comme point de discussion par l'organe d'évaluation, et nous aimerions demander au secrétariat de réfléchir aux façons dont les États qui soumettent des dossiers multinationaux, en particulier, pourraient bénéficier de conseils supplémentaires de la part du secrétariat, éventuellement d'une certaine flexibilité en termes de limitation de mots. Enfin, notre délégation a remarqué que le critère R3, R4 était le plus problématique pour l'année d'évaluation en cours. Nous pensons que les efforts visant à développer les capacités des États ainsi que concernant l'élaboration des mesures de sauvegarde et la participation des communautés devraient être encore renforcés et éventuellement discutés dans le cadre de la réflexion globale en cours sur le mécanisme d'inscription de la Convention. Je vous remercie.
Thank you, Mr. Bajan. Brazil, I am reminding speakers, I will interrupt you when you have completed your 2 minutes presentation. Brazil?
Gracias, señora presidenta. Antes de más nada, quisiera felicitar el órgano evaluador por la calidad del informe presentado, que nos permite seguir el desarrollo del trabajo de evaluación de las candidaturas que vamos a examinar enseguida. Sabemos que el trabajo fue inmenso, tanto por la calidad, la cantidad de las candidaturas como por las difíciles condiciones debido a la pandemia de la COVID-19. Que se haya podido llevar a cabo tan gran tarea en diferentes países, muchos de los cuales en situación de crisis sanitaria, solo se puede atribuir a la profesionalidad de los integrantes del órgano evaluador, a su dedicación y a su compromiso con esta convención. Nos complace ver afirmado el proceso de diálogo. El informe presentado nos muestra que el proceso de diálogo no solo está enteramente implantado, sino que se muestra muy eficaz en la solución de los pequeños problemas técnicos presentes en algunas candidaturas, lo que mejora el flujo de las inscripciones en las listas, fortalece la cohesión de los actores de la convención y enriquece el conocimiento técnico especializado de las áreas del patrimonio de los Estados parte. Sabemos que el número de candidaturas seguirá creciendo en función de la enorme visibilidad y del éxito de esta convención. Este aumento impone, por lo tanto, la necesidad de seguir perfeccionando los métodos y las condiciones de evaluación del patrimonio cultural inmaterial. Muchas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you, Brazil. Kuwait?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, let me first thank the evaluation body for the very rich technical report that has a lot of information, yet it was written in a way with anyone with any background can understand it. My only concern was the increase of R3 was 14 nomination was not met, R3 and R2. But looking at the report as a whole, Madam Chair, I really urge any state parties, whenever they decided to start their new nomination, is to start with the evaluation body report, then go ahead with their nomination process, because it has a lot of rich information where the dossier can be very polished. They can improve their dossier. So, and I think, this practice should be generalized whenever any state parties want to do a new dossier, is to start with the evaluation body report. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Kuwait. Poland?
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. The State Party of Poland wishes to express its sincere appreciation for the work done by the evaluation body, especially during this special time of COVID-19 pandemic. The report of evaluation body is very detailed and gives a lot of information regarding the specific work of the experts during the evaluation process. Poland appreciates the outputs and recommendations of the EB regarding the submitted nominations in each cycles. We recognize with satisfaction the implementation of the dialogue process in the evaluation of nominations as a useful tool for EB during the evaluation process. However, with concern, we received the information regarding the challenges of the criterion R2 and the information about difficulties that some countries still have answering the question under this criterion. We hope that this new reform regarding the listing mechanism will help the state parties also to be more efficient in managing their nomination files. Poland cordially welcomed the information of the increased number of multilateral nominations. In our view, the capacity building approach, together with its workshops dedicated to better understanding the complex of ICH international protection system, is still essential. We truly hope that thanks to this approach, we are going to improve the process of the nomination procedure as well. In this, it cannot be repeated too often that we need to continue our efforts to comprehensive and, in fact, sustainable implementation of 2003 Convention. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you, Republic of Korea. China?
My delegation would like to express our sincere appreciation to both the evaluation body and the Secretariat for their excellent work for this cycle, particularly during a time when the pandemic changed the working methodology significantly and resulted in intense work for the evaluation body and a substantial increase in the workload for the Secretariat. Therefore, I would like to give a big applause to the evaluation body and the Secretariat to their great efforts throughout the difficulties and resulted in this detailed and informative report. We would also like to congratulate the evaluation body on the full implementation of the dialogue process for this first cycle, since this dialogue mechanism was adopted by the General Assembly at its 8th session last September. The report addressed those recurring issues and recommended several good examples, all of which we believe would provide very valuable guidance for all the nominations in the future cycles. We have two specific questions. First, we observed in the report that compared to the previous cycle, the number of files recommended for referral increased. 18 nominations were referred or not to inscribe. And we noticed that one nomination for a representative list and one proposal for best practices used the no option. While in paragraph 28 in the report, it stated that the idea behind the referral is to give an encouraging signal to the submitting states. However, in the paragraph 30, it only stated that the evaluation body used the no option when the file provided enough information to show the criterion had not been met. So it seems to us that it's not well defined when the evaluation body to use the referral option and when to use the no option. The second question is that the evaluation body mentioned in the paragraph 74 that they have major concerns regarding the inventories. It said that they would like to see the clearly periodicity for the submitting states to say that how frequently the inventory was updated, whether being it the yearly frequency or others. However, we thought that it would be according to the different situations in different submitting states. So we would like to ask for some clarification from the evaluation body, if it is possible. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, I think your microphone is not working. We have a technical problem with the chair. We'll get back.
Tim?
We hear you now. We hear you now, please.
Okay, great, great. Thank you, China. I will now invite the Republic of Korea to make their intervention.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We appreciate the hard work and expertise of the evaluation body and the Secretariat, which successfully completed the evaluation despite the COVID-19 pandemic. Evaluation body's professional opinions provide clear guidelines to strengthen our safeguarding mechanism. We are pleased that the evaluation body actively used the dialogue option for more applications and more complex questions than in the previous cycle. Beginning with this cycle, we saw that the dialogue process, which started as an interim measure in 2019, became fully operational, thus advancing toward a more comprehensive and integral reform. We expect this will improve transparency and reliability of the evaluation mechanism. It will also contribute to the achievement of the purpose of the list, which is enhancing visibility of intangible heritage. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. I will now invite Côte d'Ivoire. Côte d'Ivoire, please take the floor.
Madame, it seems that Côte d'Ivoire is frozen.
Oui, oui, merci. Merci. Merci, Madame la Présidente. Vous m'entendez? Vous m'entendez?
Go ahead, Côte d'Ivoire.
D'accord. Oui, Côte d'Ivoire. Merci, Madame la Présidente, si vous m'entendez. Merci, Madame la Présidente. La Côte d'Ivoire voudrait féliciter l'organe d'évaluation pour le travail, l'excellent travail abattu, notamment sur tous les dossiers qui lui ont été soumis par analyse. Alors, la Côte d'Ivoire, la délégation de la Côte d'Ivoire voudrait qu'on accorde un grand respect, respecter vraiment tout le travail, que le comité, les membres du comité respectent le travail abattu par l'organe d'évaluation. L'année dernière, déjà, un membre du comité avait rappelé les missions de ce comité et son rôle central et déterminant dans la mise en œuvre de notre convention, notamment la convention de 2003 dont il s'agit. Ce qui est en jeu ici, c'est la sauvegarde et non la course aux listes. Il est vrai qu'il faut des listes équitables privilégiant des États qui n'ont pas d'éléments inscrits sur les différentes listes et les candidatures multinationales, mais la Côte d'Ivoire voudrait que le comité puisse travailler avec rigueur pour la crédibilité vraiment de notre comité et de la convention. Alors, tout à l'heure, Madame la Présidente, dans ses instructions ou dans sa manière de donner la stratégie de travail, la méthode de travail, a dit qu'il fallait pas que nous puissions débattre longtemps sur des dossiers qui ont plus de 2 critères non satisfaits. Mais il faudrait regarder aussi la qualité des critères. Quand un État n'arrive pas à satisfaire déjà le premier critère qui est de présenter l'élément comme étant un élément comme étant un PCI, déjà je pense que ça pose problème pour le reste du travail. Donc la Côte d'Ivoire voudrait rappeler tous les autres membres du... Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you. Thank you. Sri Lanka, please take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We wish to thank the evaluation body for their immense contribution, and we also thank the Secretariat for this document. With regard to recurring challenges, we would like to know from the evaluation body how we can overcome the specific challenge of lack of coherence between information provided under different criteria for inscription in submitted files, which seems to be the case in most referred files. Thank you.
Thank you. Jamaica?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Jamaica joins its fellow committee members in welcoming the report of the evaluation body and thanks the body for its excellent work and commitment to what is an enormous task, one that is critical to the implementation of the convention. It is even more admirable amid the continuing impact of the global pandemic. We note for the current cycle that a significant number, some 52 files, were engaged by the evaluation body, and we commend the efforts to continue to implement the dialogue process in an anticipatory manner with the state parties to enable greater understanding of files, which could influence the overall recommendations. Jamaica notes, so, with some concern, the increase in referrals and the corresponding decrease in recommendations for inscription. This could be influenced by many factors, not least of which is the need for capacity building or increased capacity building among state parties in the preparation of nomination files to include areas such as appropriate vocabulary, along with the implementation of safeguarding measures for elements. We also note that there still seems to be an issue for nominating states, particularly in reference to R2 and R3. This remains a continuing challenge and one which we would be interested in participating in furthering the dialogue towards developing a resolution. Again, we express our sincere gratitude for the work undertaken by the evaluation body and the commendable support given by the Secretariat. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jamaica. Saudi Arabia, you may take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. In the interest of time, I'll be very brief and straight to the point. We'd like to appreciate all the evaluation body efforts and hard work to have evaluated all these files despite the pandemic. We know it wasn't easy and it took so much energy, flexibility, and dedication. We also appreciate its recommendations and valuable insights and use them as a basis for continuously improving our nomination process in Saudi Arabia. As a result, we have decided to withdraw one of our nominations pertaining to Al-Khawlani beans out of our respect to this esteemed committee's gentleman's agreement to highlight our commitment to protect its principles and empower the evaluation body's role in achieving its mandate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Saudi Arabia. Lithuania.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Notre délégation remercie et se réjouit du travail important accompli par l'organe de l'évaluation dans ces circonstances assez difficiles de pandémie. Nous considérons que le rapport de l'organe de l'évaluation est de haute qualité et nous présente un large aperçu analytique sur les différentes questions, observations et recommandations pertinentes. Il est très réjouissable également d'apprendre que pendant ce cycle, le processus du dialogue a été mis en œuvre avec succès et a été utilisé pour 11 dossiers évalués. On est assuré que les recommandations de l'organe de l'évaluation concernant l'inscription ou le renvoi dans certains cas sont cohérentes et présentent un résultat de l'analyse approfondie du contenu des dossiers présentés par les pays membres. Bien qu'on aperçoive pendant ce cycle actuel une certaine augmentation du nombre de dossiers recommandés pour renvoi, nous sommes d'avis que le renvoi des dossiers peut être un excellent instrument pour améliorer les dossiers et résulter des démarches très positives et nécessaires en faveur de la sauvegarde des éléments. On apprécie également l'éventail élaboré de bons exemples des candidatures, ce qui va certainement servir de source d'inspiration pour les États soumissionnaires futurs. Nous félicitons donc vivement le rapport de l'organe de l'évaluation et espérons que les questions soulevées dans ce rapport, en particulier ceux qui sont relatives aux critères et mécanismes d'inscription et dossiers multinationaux, seront prises en considération par le comité et tous les pays soumissionnaires et feront l'objet de discussions pendant les sessions du comité et de l'Assemblée générale à venir. Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Lithuania. Members, I understand that the time limit does not allow states to make all the points they wished. I would like, therefore, to invite states taking the floor to send their interventions to the Secretariat so that the full text can be included in the summary records. I want to thank you, Czechia, for this useful proposal. I will now give the floor to the rapporteur of the evaluation body to answer questions raised by the states.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson, and thank you also for your support and also for your questions. In my opinion, some of them were already answered in the presentation, in the oral presentation, but I can get back to them. I'm afraid I have to admit that the evaluation probably reflects the quality of the files, as we had to state with regret. On the other side, the increase of the referral options also mirror the decrease of the no options. So we opted for the referral options when it was possible. Concerning the way out of this, I think this is always commended with a specific combined with the specific recommendations that the evaluation body tries to give, and this might help the state parties to review the files, as well as the already mentioned methodological materials on the UNESCO website, good example nominations, NGO experts, as well as the cooperating countries helping to draft high quality nominations. So these options are all there. That's to answer the questions, what to do with this situation. Concerning the R2 recurring issues, it was exactly the case where the answers were merely a repetition of the questions in the nomination form, taking the form of a statement without further explanation, and concentrating more on the visibility of the element itself, as they failed to demonstrate how this would impact the cultural heritage in general. That means that we are really looking forward, and we stress again the importance of the reflection of the listing mechanism that, as I said, was delayed unfortunately for this year. The next question was regarding the R5 criterion. The information often stated that the inventories are regularly updated or are updated regularly. What the evaluation body was more expecting was an expecting time frame related to this updating, although it's completely clear that this is somehow connected to specific context in specific countries. So we didn't expect the state parties to give a concrete number just year after year, but we were expecting a concrete number in regard of periodicity of updating. Concerning the possibility of using the no option and the difference to the referral option, the evaluation body used the option of not to inscribe, not to select, or not to approve a specific file, program, or international assistance request when the file provided enough information to show that a criterion or several criteria had clearly not been met. That means the referral option means that the information provided was not sufficient to decide. That's the difference between a no option and a referral option. And I hope I didn't miss any questions. If there is one I missed, please could you remind me? I hope I managed to answer all of your questions, and thank you once more for them.
Thank you, Ms. Volanska. Once again, let me remind you that we will have our general debate and examine draft decision 15.com.8 after having examined individual decisions on the items 8A, 8B, 8C, and 8D. So without further ado, let us proceed now to item 8A.